What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show. Yeah, I mean, I also always wonder how many layers there are to people out in the field. It's a little different with Ground Branch because you guys are literally deniable as we've gone through. But did you see that story Jack Murphy put out? God, this is like a little over, I think it's almost exactly a year ago now, about the sleeper cells in Russia.
I did not.
Okay, so this one's interesting, and maybe you could break this down a little bit. But essentially, Jack Murphy went in and did a podcast with my buddy Danny Jones on the Danny Jones podcast, going through everything he reported. But he's a former Army guy, reports on everything related to special forces, intel around the world. He's got a podcast called The Team House that's really good. But he worked on this story for months after the Ukraine war broke out about these sleeper cells that we, the United States, along with NATO allies, allegedly had ready to go in Russia when the war happened. So if you remember, like when some of these bridges were blowing up and factories in Russia were mysteriously exploding and whatever, what he was saying is that these were these sleeper cell agents who were just creating chaos and bombing these places once the war broke out. And what he posited was that back in maybe the mid-2000s, late 2000s, some of these guys were set up and left there to live undercover lives, and then almost like a Morse code type, it wasn't exactly Morse code, but almost like a Manchurian candidate wake-up kind of thing, as in, like the name sleeper cell.
Right.
The minute that war broke out, they were put into action where they knew, like, okay, maybe one guy, he buries a bomb at this latitude and longitude in the boreal forest or something, and he's going to go take it to this facility and blow it up or something like that, and caused all this. Guys like that, I would imagine a lot of them are assets on the ground that were turned, so a lot of them are native Russians that now work for them. But are they purely sleeper undercover during that time, or are they, would you say someone like that might actually be routinely handled and report and do reconnaissance as well in the build-up in the years towards something like that?
Well, for starters, I've never been involved in like a quote-unquote sleeper cell operation. Are they out there? Yeah, of course. And the word you're looking for is called a bona fides.
Yes.
You've heard that term before. They get a certain word or a sentence that basically tells them, hey, that's telling you to go do this operation right now. Right. So it's called a bona fides. But anyway, yeah, of course there are sleeper cells, and of course there are people that are on the payroll of the agency that, some are Knox. Those are like the non-official cover. Those are the guys that are embedded in a business. Like that's really heavy duty stuff. They're embedded as a business as an IT guy or whatever, at least they think they are, but in fact they're collecting intel. Understand they're, again, I've never done this type of operation. I just know from talking to people, any asset that you have, well, not you, that the agency has is managed somewhere. Somebody is managing them in one way or another. And it's by a case officer, more than likely. And so these individuals aren't just like rogue, so to speak. Like they're not just out there flapping in the wind and can do whatever they want, whenever they want. They are told when to do, because everything has to be done. It's a process, right? You got to do A before you do B, before you do C. So they're managed. These people are managed. They're paid. They're assets of the agency. But as far as just like going out there and doing whatever they want, I'm saying no. Okay. Think about it. What happens if they do something, or they go hit a target, or, taking a certain individual out of the equation, when in fact, like, we needed that guy to get to that. Like, you can't just have people out there just randomly running around like a loose cannon. This is, besides what the TV shows and movies, the agency is extremely methodical. Like, extremely methodical. Like, they plan way out, almost like the Chinese, like Chinese businessmen. They don't plan 2-3 years out. They plan 20 years out, 30 years out. That's the way the agency is. Like, if we do this now, what kind of ripple effect is that going to have 5 years from now? Maybe we should just leave this guy in control for a while, right? And I'm just spitballing right now, but I know how these people think. They're very, very smart. Okay, they think way long term. What are the effects of, if we do A, what is the effects of B, C, D 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? So, yeah, sleeper cells, duh. Yeah, that's a no-brainer, dude. There's people out there doing it, of course. I mean, do you think we have sleeper cells in this country? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people that are listening, if you don't think there's sleeper cells in this country from terrorist organizations, you need to be smacked. It's like, time to wake up. Yes, they're here. How many? Where? Don't know, but they're here.
Even beyond sleeper cells, just like embedded intel. And Andy Bustamante said there's an estimate that you have to highlight it's an estimate because you can't really know that at any given time in the United States of America, there are at least 100,000 undercover agents of some sort. That's
scary. I wouldn't have guessed that high, but he would know.
We're all 1 degree of separation from one.
Yeah.
When you really extrapolate that, 340 million people, 330 million people, 100,000 of them, which is a small percentage, but it's big enough that at spread out scale, chances are you've met one in your life.
Yeah. And of course, a gentleman with his background and access and placement to what he did, I would probably guess that his estimation is probably accurate. He's not just pulling it out of thin air.
Yeah.
But it's scary. Yeah, man, it's very scary. I mean, think about during the Cold War, how many, sleeper cells we had, and there was actually teams, special forces teams set up to, and again, this is all open source. I mean, that would jump man-packed nukes, literally jump in a man-packed nuke into a country, so
crazy.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's, again, open source, I read about it. There have been books written about it. But yeah, very scary, man. We live in a very rogue and feral world, and I just don't understand how some people can just put a blind eye up to it. Like, God bless, man.
People see the world they want to see. And I always have to check myself on that too. We all want world peace. We all want things to be happy and dandy, but that's not at scale how things work. There are bad people in the world. Sometimes they're here too.
That's right.
Right?
Oh,
it exists everywhere. And there's a reason that guys like you have to exist. You might not like that has to happen, but it's just how it is.
Right.
There's always. I'm very fascinated by the idea that there always has to be an enemy, and so sometimes it gets maybe created in a way or like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Nonetheless, you're always going to have someone who hates you, regardless of where you are in the world right now. You're always going to have some sort of other team that doesn't like the team you're on, and human beings make some wildly stupid decisions and lead themselves to some sometimes evil places in the face of conflict like that. And look, we're seeing it all over. I do want to talk with you about the fact that we've had 2 major wars play out on the world stage now that are still going on over the past 2 years. But before I got there, the one clarification I wanted to ask as well on top of the sleeper cell stuff is, as I mentioned, that mission in particular was one that was run conjointly with other NATO countries as well. So it wasn't just like a U.S. operation. For you guys, though, being an off-books team, meaning no one knows about you, I would assume, I just don't want to assume and be wrong, that you didn't do any types of missions with representatives from other countries on teams similar to yours?
No.
Yeah. So it's completely, yeah. Okay.
We would... The one op that we did, I told you it was 10 weeks. Our cover for status and cover for action while we were there was obviously different than what we were there to actually do. And you may interface with other, and we did, with other assets of other countries, but they had no idea who we were and what we were doing.
So are you in that situation? Are you saying like, we're representing Special Forces or State Department? Okay. All right. Fair enough.
State Department. We're with the State Department. Okay.
How often was that type of thing your cover? like a public
Not
office.
often.
Like I was going to say,
Not
that's
often.
not really.
No. Understand, dude, most of the work that I did was in like Afghanistan, Iraq, like working with, foreign nationals.
Yeah. Can we pull up that picture I texted you, Alessi, of Joe? Put it on the screen.
Of just working with foreign nationals, Iraqi units, Afghan units that the agency put together.
So you can pass.
Yeah,
can
dude, that
totally
was
pass.
Oh my God. That was dude, that was actually in the Arabian desert when I was on my show. Dude,
Is that Moses burning bush right there?
Dude, it was 127 degrees.
That's
I
nice.
bullshit you not. It was so freaking hot. And we had just come from the jungle and went to the desert. Like everybody got sick. Anyway,
Where in the jungle?
Sri Lanka.
Oh, you went from Sri Lanka right over to here?
And then from there to a glacier in Norway where it was 20 below zero. Oh yeah, dude. It wiped out the crew.
So this is during, we're going to talk about dual survival soon. This is during dual survival?
Yeah, that was in Oman in the Arabian desert. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And I just found this little tree and like, dude, there was nothing. And there was like this tiny little like bush. I'm like, what the hell? Like it was just weird, just growing out of the sand. It was bizarre.
It's a great picture though.
Yeah.
But I could
you see what
totally
I'm saying,
see you,
though,
yes.
dude. You see what I mean? And my beard was short there. I wore a little bit longer beard in Afghanistan, so again, when I was in Iraq and we worked up in the northern part of the country, in Kurdistan, in this little town called Erbil, everybody there thought I was Kurdish.
Right.
I never got a second look ever on the street.
Yeah, I mean, you have
Right.
a good profile for
Right.
this kind of thing.
That's what I'm saying. Some guys can't pull that off.
Right.
Right? Just because you just don't have that look. Maybe it'd work in another environment, but there you have to have a certain look and that makes it even more dangerous. Like I said, now you're the gray man. Now you're literally the wolf in sheep's clothing, and people have no clue what you're doing until it's too late.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.